Now, I'm always ranting on about farm diversification, so I thought it'd be quite useful to give you an idea as to what it is that we're doing in terms of diversification here on our own farm in southwest Scotland. The farm here covers about 3,000 acres and it's split about 1,200 acres of in-by ground and 1,800 acres of hill ground. We're in the southwest of Scotland. The farm sits at about 700 feet above sea level and it's on the west coast, so it's pretty wet. The farm's been in the family for over 100 years. We celebrated our centenary in 2019 and my dad's currently the third generation and we're the fourth generation here on the farm. It was a tenanted farm up until 2005 off the Buccleuch Estates, and then we decided to buy the farm. The farm has always had a beef, sheep and dairy unit on it, and that traditionally is what we would always have in terms of diversification. So if one of those sectors wasn't doing particularly well of a particular year, the other two would bounce it up. So if milk was doing particularly well but sheep were down, then it would always level out, and that was enough diversification to be able to cover most scenarios. But in 2009, my dad actually decided to sell the dairy, a whole host of different reasons, but predominantly the price of milk was bad and had been bad for a considerable amount of time. And that shed behind me, or certainly the old byre that used to be there, I've done another video on that shed, but that byre used to house the dairy. So when the dairy went, we were then left with beef and sheep enterprises. And we started looking around for other revenue streams and looking to diversify the business to compensate for the loss of the dairy. Now, the nature of the farm and the land that we have here lent itself really quite well to a lot of environmental stuff. But I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, and where a lot of this stuff certainly doesn't have the prominence that it has today. We always had done pockets of environmental stuff. We're a triple SI and have had done for 20, 25 years. But we really started looking at a lot of other options and exploring other options in terms of environmental schemes, in terms of renewable projects, in terms of tree planting and various other different bits and pieces on the farm, as I say, because it lent itself, or the farm certainly lends itself well to those sort of schemes. A couple of key considerations for us was firstly to look at schemes that would deliver additional income for the farm business. But secondly, and equally as importantly, was we looked at schemes that would allow us to farm as we've always done in terms of beef and sheep, and we've actually expanded the sheep enterprise post sale of the dairy. I should add that I am filming this in the middle of April, and whilst I still have the Christmas hat on, this is by far the best weather that we have had all year, which is great for lambing and all the rest of it, but you are seeing the farm in the best light, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, this bit of woodland behind me here was planted about 15 years ago as part of a carbon sequestration programme. This was in the very, very early days of carbon capture, and it was for a couple of big corporates. It's hardwood, so it's not going to be a commercial forestry project, but it is for carbon sequestration. And the thing about this field is it's about 6 acres and it is very, very difficult ground. It's very difficult to lamb sheep in or to put cattle in. It's very, very wet and heavy underfoot. So it was a sitter in terms of tree planting and just taking it out of operation, but allowing it to sequester carbon through trees instead. This wind farm was constructed in 2015 and was commissioned and started generating electricity in 2018. And not only does it provide another income stream to the business, but the great thing about it is that it makes no material difference to the farming operation that we run here. So on these hills, it's about 950 acres here of hill ground, and we've always run blackies on here, and the wind farm doesn't change any of that. The sheep are more than happy to graze and run around in amongst the wind turbines. So it's a great addition to the farm business. There are around 10 turbines on this land for the wind farm, each 3 megawatts each, so it's a 30 megawatt output on a good day, which today it's pretty good, and I'm absolutely freezing standing doing this video. My hands are about to fall off. But it's another really good example of diversification, and it's a great revenue stream for the business. Christ, that's cold. I was going to try and shoot a wee video from the top of these steps at the turbine, and it was looking great. It was clear blue skies about 5 minutes ago, but the mist is just coming in. You can barely see the turbines anymore. Jesus. Oh, right, that's that done for a day. Another example of tree planting. This is nothing to do with the AECS scheme that I mentioned previously, but it is another example of diversification. This is commercial forestry, and again, this is probably one of the wettest, most difficult parts of the whole farm. This here, extending over to my right, there's about 50 acres worth of trees planted here, and it's very, very difficult ground. Again, it's traditionally, we used to run blacky ewes on here, and it's virtually impossible to lamb on. You can walk it. You will actually struggle to get a bike in here, even though there's quite a bit of heather cover at the minute, heather cover as you can see behind me. It is very, very difficult ground to do anything with from a food production point of view. So the decision was taken to take it out of food production and plant commercial forestry on here, which is growing at the minute, and that will, as you will well know, there was grants to do that, and then that'll give you a commercial crop of forestry in about 25, 30 years time. Now, one of the bigger schemes that we've been involved with over the past 4 or 5 years has been the AECS scheme, which is the Agri-environmental climate scheme here in Scotland. And a lot of that is to do with promoting ecology and biodiversity on farms. And as part of it, we do stuff like this. Now, this behind me, a lot of people might look at as being a wet hole, and to be honest, it kind of is, but we've transformed this into a pond to encourage birds and wildlife, and there's 2 or 3 of these dotted around the farm, and we've also got a load of wader scrapes. And there's a load of other components of the AECS scheme, including hedgerows and protecting waterways, tree planting, and it's done in conjunction with a whole load of other farms that we have in the surrounding area. And again, it's about using the natural assets that we have here in the farm to generate a little bit of additional income while still allowing us to farm sheep and cattle in the traditional way. But this is what you get if you try and film at 2,500 feet in Scotland. That was a clear blue sky about 5 minutes ago, and the mist has just come in as thick as you like, and I guarantee if I drop about 500 feet it'll be clear again. But up here, you can see absolutely bugger all, but it's the nature of it. The sun's coming through there, but it's hardly worth it, but it's the nature of it.